I've recently been diagnosed with a serious medical condition. Self-diagnosed. And I don't know, maybe you guys can guess what it is just from looking at me. And for those of you who guessed pregnant, screw you. No, this is from the last baby. Thank you very much. No, I am suffering from aging. As much as I try to stop it, every day I get older and older. And it seems like as I get older, I pick up new symptoms along the way, and I drop off abilities along the way, so things stop working that used to work. I've worn glasses my entire life, for example, and when I went in recently for that post-40 eye doctor exam, the eye doctor very seriously looked at me and said, "Given your age, I think you should consider bifocals." No, I am not 80 years old. I do not need bifocals. Am I right here, people? Come on. I am tabling that decision for a couple years. She said I was allowed to. But it's hard when things on your body don't work the way they did when you were 20 years old. Now, I'm married to a much younger man. My husband, Bart, is 2 years younger than me. So things on him seem to still be keeping up. Like, he's not falling apart quite the way I am. And I don't know if it's from those 2 years or if it's from those 2 babies that I had. I don't know what it is about being the one who has the babies. It seems to do a lot more damage to your body than it does to your partner. I don't know. Maybe I think there's a doctor in the house. Maybe he can explain it to me later. But my second kid, 2 years ago, he was a butter ball of a baby, and he destroyed my body. He's 2 years old now, so rather than a butterball, he's more like the Hulk. He never just walks casually into a room. He just sort of stomps into the room, and then as soon as he walks into the room, it's like Hulk smash, and everything goes flying in all different directions. And even though he has vocabulary, he chooses to talk like the Hulk, just in monosyllables, right? Like his favorite word, he does this to me on a daily basis. He runs into the room and goes, "Cake?" No, we're not having cake for breakfast. And he'll try it multiple times a day, and I figure one of these days he's gonna get his way. His other favorite thing to do is to point out the obvious. So, for example, I will be working in the kitchen and I'll start banging some pots around, and he'll run into the room and go, "Noise?" Yes, Mommy made a noise. Yes, that's very good. Or I'll be in the living room and I'll turn on the vacuum cleaner and he'll run in and go, "Loud noise?" Very good, yes. Now, it's clear to me from his second favorite word, noise, that he inherited Mommy's hearing. I have excellent hearing and always have, and so far, that seems to be keeping up. And I will tell you, for those of you who don't know, that excellent hearing is a mixed blessing. On one hand, you can hear things that other people can't, which can come in handy. On the other hand, you can hear things that other people can't, and often they don't quite believe you. For example, this was about 10 years ago. I was on vacation with my then boyfriend, who is not my now husband, who's too old. And we're on our vacation in Florida, and it was the first morning of our vacation at 6 a.m. when the alarm in the room next to us started beeping and continued to beep for 45 minutes. This woke me up, did not wake up my boyfriend. So later, after we had gotten all our stuff ready for the day out, I went to the front desk and I complained. I said, listen, I'm just letting you know, this alarm woke me up. Can you please have someone turn it off so that it doesn't do the same thing tomorrow? And the guy looked at me and said, so the alarm in another room woke you up? And I said, yes, and it just never went off because I don't think there's anyone in that room, so can you please have someone and he said, yes, ma'am, of course, we'll take care of that. And I knew he didn't believe me, and sure enough, the next day, the alarm went off at 6 a.m. again. But that is a typical response. People either look at you like they think you're crazy and having auditory hallucinations, or they look at you like, okay, I'm glad you can hear it, but that's not my problem. And as much as I love my husband, he sometimes dismisses me when I have some sounds that I hear that he can't hear. I think that just makes things easier, which is perhaps why I didn't share it with him when I started hearing the ringing in my ears. It might have been because I was afraid he was going to dismiss me, and it might have been because, well, you see, I react to aging kind of the way I react to things in my house falling apart. It's just kind of like if I ignore it, the problem will fix itself, right? So when the ringing started in my ears, I figured the best solution was to just pretend it wasn't there and it would go away. And that was easy at first because it was sporadic, right? I just hear it every now and then. And as someone who has excellent hearing, that happens to me a lot. I will be out at a restaurant and suddenly hear a noise, and I hear it and no one else does, and then it goes away. But as the weeks wore on, the sound became more and more persistent and harder to ignore. I'd go downstairs in the morning, I'd go into the kitchen, turn on the light, and start making breakfast for the kids. And a minute or two later, the noise would start. And then I'd say, go away, and it wouldn't necessarily go away, but I'd kind of get used to it, and then I'd start not hearing it so much. And at first it was just every other day, and then it was every day, and then it was multiple times a day. So this one evening, about 2 months after the noise started, I got home with the kids. They went to play in the living room. I went into the kitchen, turned on the light, started making dinner, and there it was again, that noise. And I just didn't want to deal with it. I looked up at the heavens and said, please, not right now. I can't handle this. I don't want to make an appointment with a doctor. I don't have time. And as often happens when I plead with the heavens, nothing changed. Except about 2 seconds later, the Hulk came running into the kitchen and went, noise? And I said, noise? And he said, noise? And I said, noise? And he said, noise? And I said, noise? And I started jumping up and down, and he started jumping up and down. We were so excited. He didn't really know why, but I was so excited that he heard it too. And later that night, after the kids were in bed, I said to my husband, I've been hearing this sound for a while, this ringing in my ears, and I didn't want to tell you about it, but tonight I found out that our little boy heard the sound too. And at first my husband kind of looked at me like, uh-huh. And I knew what was coming. He was going to dismiss it, but then he said, are you talking about the humming in the kitchen from the light bulb going bad? So next time I hear a sound that I'm not really sure about, I'm gonna go ahead and tell my husband. After I run it past my son. Thank you.